People are loyal to what you give them, not always to you. One of the quietest heartbreaks in adulthood is realizing that a lot of the people you called close were never really loyal to you. They were loyal to what having you around did for them. While you made their life easier, solved problems, gave them attention, opened doors, made them feel good, they stuck around happily. The instant your circumstances shifted, a surprising number of them shifted too, without ever announcing it. That stings because we're raised to believe friendship runs on loyalty. But if you want to stop being blindsided, there's a plainer truth worth accepting. Most people are loyal to their own interests first and to any individual second. How most relationships actually start look honestly at how your circle formed. School threw you together daily. Work paired you towards shared targets. Some bonds grew out of business, hobbies, or overlapping ambition. None of that is a flaw. Shared context genuinely can produce real connection. The mistake is assuming shared context automatically upgrades into lifelong loyalty. Circumstances shift, priorities rearrange, and plenty of relationships fade quietly, not from betrayal, but because convenience, not commitment, was the actual glue the whole time. Think back to everyone who once swore they'd always be in your corner. How many were still standing there once your life actually changed? Once the money, the status, the usefulness dried up? Some stayed. Some vanished with no explanation. That's not an accident, it's information. Most people aren't plotting betrayal. They're simply drifting toward wherever their own priorities currently point. Expecting otherwise, expecting permanent loyalty from ordinary people living ordinary self-interested lives is a recipe for constant disappointment. Letting go of that fantasy isn't cynicism, it's just accuracy. Don't confuse usefulness with friendship. Watch how easily they need something gets mistaken for they care. Some people only surface when they want advice, comfort, money, or a connection you can provide. They're warm and attentive right up until the need is met. Then the replies slow. Days become weeks, weeks become months. Then, right on schedule, they resurface the moment another favor is required. If you keep pouring energy into a one-sided relationship, hoping that one more favor will finally earn you real devotion, you're negotiating with the wrong currency. Loyalty was never for sale. Kindness given with a hidden invoice attached always curdles into resentment eventually. If someone only stays for what you provide, there was no real relationship to begin with, just an arrangement wearing its clothes. Watch actions, not declarations. People reveal their real priorities through what they protect when a hard choice shows up, not through what they promise you on a good day. Patterns don't lie for long, even when words do. Understanding this doesn't have to sour you. It just recalibrates your expectations. Some people are seasonal. Some exist to teach a lesson, not to stay forever. Once you stop demanding permanence from relationships that were never engineered for it, you can actually enjoy them for what they are. None of this means real loyalty doesn't exist. It does. It's just rare. And that rarity is exactly what makes it worth something. The genuinely loyal show up when it's inconvenient, treat you the same whether you're thriving or struggling, tell you the truth even when it costs them, and support you without running a private ledger. Recognize them, value them. Don't expect everyone else to be them. Kenness isn't proof of loyalty. Here's a trap almost everyone falls into at least once. Mistaking kindness, attention, and shared time for guaranteed loyalty. Someone speaks gently, laughs with you, shows up for a while, and it's tempting to conclude they'll be there forever. But warmth is cheap to give when nothing is being asked of it. Almost anyone can be pleasant when there's no cost involved. Real loyalty only gets tested once supporting you becomes inconvenient, awkward, or expensive. Ask the uncomfortable question directly. Would this person still show up with zero payoff for them? If your success disappeared tomorrow, would the attention stay exactly the same? That question is the difference between temporary companionship and something sturdier. Watch out especially for warmth that tracks your circumstances. Enthusiastic, while your life looks impressive, mysteriously scarce the moment you're struggling. That's not necessarily malicious. It just shows the loyalty was riding on convenience the whole time. Also be wary of intensity mistaken for depth. Some relationships escalate fast. Declarations of forever after a few weeks, being called family before being truly known. Genuine loyalty rarely needs to announce itself. It just quietly proves itself over years through consistent, unglamorous behavior. People who are actually dependable usually don't need to convince you with speeches. Their track record already did the talking. Enjoy kindness when it's offered. Just don't build your entire sense of security on top of it, because circumstances and people change. Your expectations might be setting you up to get hurt. A large amount of relational pain doesn't come from betrayal itself. It comes from expectations quietly set up long before anything went wrong. Every expectation you place on someone is really a private agreement that exists only in your own head. The catch: the other person may never have signed on to it. We tend to assume other people operate by our own rule book. I'd never abandon someone in a hard season, so surely they won't abandon me. That logic feels sound, but people don't run on your principles. They run on theirs. Countless friendships have quietly collapsed under the weight of expectations that were never actually spoken out loud. One side expecting constant availability, the other assuming occasional contact was plenty. Nobody necessarily meant harm. The mismatch alone did the damage. Expectations also work like a lens. The higher they climb, the more ordinary behavior starts looking like betrayal. A delayed text becomes rejection. A disagreement becomes disloyalty. And be careful of the version where sacrifice quietly turns into entitlement. The more you give, the more you start silently expecting back, until anything less than extraordinary feels like a letdown. Even when nothing was actually promised, try this instead. Before assuming betrayal, ask honestly, did they break an actual promise? Or did they simply fail to meet a standard I invented on my own? That single question resolves a huge share of unnecessary hurt. This isn't a call to lower your standards. Honesty, respect, and basic integrity are non-negotiable in anyone you let close. It's a call to stop expecting every person to become your permanent emotional caretaker. Very few relationships can bear that weight. The people with the most durable peace aren't surrounded by flawless friends. They just don't demand perfection from imperfect ones. Their happiness is anchored in their own stability, not in other people's behavior. Hard times are the real audit. If you want to know who genuinely belongs in your life, stop studying people during your good years and start watching them during your hard ones. Almost anyone can look supportive when everything's easy. Success is fun to be near, and comfort makes loyalty look effortless. Difficulty is what actually removes the mask. A packed social calendar during your winning streak can feel like proof you're deeply loved. It usually isn't proof of anything except that you were fun to be around at the time. Hit a real setback, money problems, a public failure, a loss of status, and watch how fast some of those same people go quiet. That's not always cruelty. It's pressure revealing priorities that comfort never had to expose. Pay attention, too, to how people respond to your struggle. Some genuinely root for your recovery. Others are strangely energized by your setback because it makes their own life feel more bearable by comparison. Envy hiding behind polite concern. The people who stay present with nothing to gain, who don't perform loyalty but simply enact it, are the ones worth your trust. This isn't a reason to become bitter. It's information. Let it sharpen your judgment rather than harden your heart. Difficult seasons don't only test other people's character, they test yours too. Stay honest without turning cynical. Stay kind without becoming a doormat. The real fix. Stop outsourcing your peace. After watching hardship reveal who actually stays, one liberating conclusion follows. The best protection against disappointment was never finding perfectly loyal people. It's becoming someone who doesn't need them to be perfect in order to feel okay. Plenty of people spend years hunting for someone who will never leave, never change, never let them down, and build their entire emotional footing on that hope. But people are inconsistent by nature. If your stability depends entirely on someone else's constancy, your stability was never actually yours. Real strength starts the moment you stop handing your happiness to other people to carry. That doesn't mean going cold or refusing to care. It means your confidence and sense of worth stop being conditional on who chooses to stay. When your emotional footing depends completely on someone else, fear creeps into everything. Fear of losing them, fear of disappointing them, fear of being left. That fear quietly starts making your decisions for you, and you drift from acting on your values to acting on your insecurities. This is exactly how people end up tolerating disrespect for years, not because they don't notice it, but because they're quietly convinced that having someone beats having no one. That belief is the whole trap. The moment you realize your peace doesn't actually require someone else's presence, you stop chasing people who take you for granted, and self-respect quietly replaces desperation. Emotional independence, done right, doesn't make you cold. It makes you more capable of loving people honestly, because you're finally loving from choice instead of fear. It changes how you handle loss too. Instead of collapsing when a friendship ends, you adapt. Instead of question your worth, you register it as a normal part of life shifting. You recover faster because your identity was never fully tied to someone else's decisions in the first place. Respect everyone. Depend on no one. Every lesson here points to one final principle. Respect people, appreciate the good they add to your life, but never let anyone become the foundation your entire world rests on. The moment another person becomes the source of your happiness, identity, or purpose, you've handed your peace to hands you don't control. Real strength means standing firmly on your own while treating relationships as meaningful additions to your life, not the load-bearing wall holding it up. People change cities, careers, and priorities. That's not always a sign they stopped caring. Sometimes it's just life pulling in different directions. If your foundation is built on people staying exactly the same forever, every ordinary change will feel like a personal loss. If your foundation is built on your own values and self-respect, you can absorb those changes without losing yourself. Don't measure your worth by head count. A wide social circle guarantees nothing. One honest relationship built on mutual respect outweighs a dozen maintained purely by convenience. Stay kind, stay generous, stay open. Just stay observant too. You don't need to become suspicious of everyone. You just need to notice over time who's actually earning your trust and who's simply enjoying the benefits of your presence. The real freedom shows up the moment you're no longer afraid to stand alone. At that point, you stop performing for approval, stop clinging to relationships that no longer reflect your values, and start choosing your circle on principle instead of fear. People will pass through your life for all kinds of reasons. Some teach a lesson, some last a season. A rare few prove themselves across years of consistency. Appreciate each one for exactly what they were. Just never hand over your identity in the process. Your peace has to outlast your dependence on anyone else's loyalty. Get that right, and disappointment stops being able to run your life.